I had come across, just regular news feeds, papers. I hadn't even heard of Alex Jones yet. I was probably 2 months into my investigation in 2002, and I come across this 71 megabyte real player file on a file share network where, the quality was horrible, the audio was off, and still, me and my roommate are sitting there watching this with our jaws dropping, and I remember immediately after that film, I'm like, I need to prove this wrong. And I started going into, what he said about Oklahoma City, the 93 World Trade Center bombing, of course, 9/11, and I was able to easily verify 90+% of that. And what was really scary to me was Section 802 of the Patriot Act that literally said you didn't have to commit a crime, you just had to think about committing a crime, and you could be a potential terrorist. And now they've really come full circle with all these DHS documents, the MIAC report, the Fusion Center documents, the new drills they're going to be running this summer, NLE 09. It is off the charts, and unfortunately, Alex Jones is correct, and that's why I'm sitting here tonight. I thank you for the call, Eric. Have you seen this yet, Joe, the Cyberbullying Prevention Act?
Well, I did through you guys. You turned me on to it.
Yeah, it is absolute insanity. We have become, I'm using the term soft because our society is just so willing to say, okay, we need to pass laws so we don't hurt people's feelings, and the internet hurts a lot of young people's feelings, so maybe we should regulate it or get rid of it altogether. This is absolute insanity, and it allows them a venue to say, that's why we need to get rid of the Alex Jones channel. And, Rupert Murdoch's out there saying, the internet's not going to exist the same way in a few years. And right now, the Senate is discussing how they're going to save the newspapers. Why does the Senate have to save the newspapers, Joe?
Well, I think this is a part of a larger issue, and that is something I've kind of formulated over the years, that when the government, the Senate, the House, the administrations that come and go with the presidency, when they recognize how much they can tax people and how much they can abuse us collectively and how little we fight back, it's just like, come on, they're gonna lay it on deeper and thicker and bigger and worse, because they say, well, look at what they put up with before, and I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. They push us a little bit and we just go back, and then they push us again and we keep going back. When are we going to stand our ground? When are we going to step up to the plate and say, hey, you're not going to push me around anymore? But if we do that, we might be violent terrorists. From sovereign citizen movements to tax resistance movements to, violent anti-war extremism, because again, anti-war activists are terrorists. They use such broad language in this, and the only people that they don't seem to go after in this latest DHS document, and it says right here, this product provides definitions for key terms that phrases are often appear in the DHS analysis that address the nature and scope of the threat of domestic non-Islamic extremism poses to the United States. So they are admitting this isn't for Al-Qaeda, this is for you, the American citizen. And everybody is so mesmerized by thinking, oh, the DHS was set up to protect us from Al-Qaeda and the evil terrorists. And that's not why it was set up. And that's why it kind of disgusts me when Representative King gets on Lou Dobbs' show and says, oh, this must be a rogue element. This is the third DHS document that has become public in less than 6 weeks saying the same exact thing. This is obviously a concerted effort and anything but rogue, Joe.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was listening. I think that was when you and Alex was on today, when you had King, that clip from King. Mm-hmm. And I was like having the same thoughts that you were. It's like he's acting like, oh, this is terrible to have this aberration going on, or, well, DHS wasn't formed for this purpose. It's like, yes, it was, dude. It was formed exactly for the purpose that this memo leaked out is showing.
And the only reason we know is because it leaked out, and the only reason they retracted it because it leaked out. This is a document from the end of March, so this was a live document for over a month, and they act like, oh, we never authorized this document. But when you go down and you read the warning, it says, hey, this is unclassified, but it's for official use only, and it may be exempt from public release even under Freedom of Information Act requests. We don't want this in the hands of media or, individuals outside of law enforcement. So, of course, this is a document that they approved.
Exactly. And I know I'm so happy that you guys are beating the drum every day to show people, the American people, that DHS and TSA and all these things are there to hammer on us. They're not there to hammer. I mean, they may catch a few, Middle Eastern terrorists or whatever, but the same as the money laundering laws with the income tax or the financial laws. Those are to snare the American people, not the occasional drug dealer, I can assure you.
I'm with you, Joe. Final segment with Joe Banister after this. The website is freedomabovefortune.com. This is the Info Warrior, and we're going to be going over National Level Exercise 09 with Joe in the next segment. PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com.
You're listening to GCN, the world leader in independent talk radio.
All right, folks, we are back. It's the final segment with Joe Banister. Before we go back to him, I want to give a big shout-out to Rob and his son, Mo. He's my producer, and his very cute son is on the outskirts eating a Wendy's Frosty. Big ups to Wendy's and their delicious GMO poison. I'm sure it's full of high-fructose corn syrup, but hey, we got to spoil him sometimes. And, Rob really, he does a great job booking all my guests. He helps me out with the news. Oh, we got a little reflection action. You can't see his face because of the lights, but I can assure you he's here. Now, Joe, I want to get your take on this NLE 09 exercise that's coming up. Now, this exercise is the first of its kind. It's going to, quote-unquote, prevent terrorism. DHS, of course, is going to be involved. But what's really alarming to me is that this is a FEMA exercise. It's to prevent terrorism. It's going to be using all local, federal, and even tribal governments, as well as the private sector. Oh, yeah, and the United Kingdom's going to take part in it, so is Canada, Australia, and Mexico. What's your take on this drill?
It scares me to death. I mean, it just goes to show you how this is a sprint to the finish line. I mean, they are just pulling out all the stops to integrate and coordinate and make this a federalized, Sovietized country. And so this is evidence of that. And I'd encourage your listeners to get out there and educate as many law enforcement people as they can. Your listeners must either have a relative who's in law enforcement or a cousin of a cousin or a coworker or something, and get the word out to them. Get the Obama deception and get the information to them ahead of this July date. And then that way, when they see this stuff going on or they actually participate in it, they'll be able to do it with their eyes wide open. But it is scary. I mean, it's to think it's coming here in the middle of the summer. I'm just amazed at how quickly they're advancing this agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. They are advancing this agenda at a huge pace, and what's really interesting about this is that they're going to use these fusion centers during the drill, and these fusion centers are, of course, a product of DHS. And they're saying, well, the terrorist attack occurs in another country, and then there might be some terrorist attacks here because we don't know what the outcome of this drill is going to be. We're not having a predetermined drill. We're going to have these multiple terrorist attacks possibly going off. And what this is going to be an excuse for is a mass spying drill on the American people, if not a quarantine drill, if not a live terror exercise. We can only hope that they won't try to pull off a false flag. I don't think they would do one with such a public exercise, especially one that we reported on. But when you look at 9/11, in the summer before 9/11, they're running all sorts of drills, including Amalgam Virgo, which bin Laden was on the cover. They hijack an airplane out of Alaska, and they ram it into the Capitol building, all with a red and blue team scenario. And then you fast forward to the morning of 9/11, and you have things like Operation Jackal Cave going on. You have, Northern Vigilance, Northern Guardian, Apollo Guardian, all these different drills, including the one at the NRO conducted by the CIA at 8:45 in the morning of a plane hitting a building. So I think that we really have to let the American public know that these drills are really a cover for another type of program.
Well, maybe what you guys could do is, it's not short notice, but I mean, get all the listeners to get out there with InfoWar signs, whether it's on cardboard or something fancy, and get out on the street corners and, are they going to shut down the First Amendment during these drills? Because get people out there, and as the tanks roll by, at least you'll have your InfoWars placards and signs and flyers, and use it as an opportunity to educate even more people.
And on top of that, I think people should arm themselves with their greatest weapon, and that's your camera. Let's film this. Let's put this on YouTube. Let's give them another reason to shut down the internet. I thank you so much for joining us, Joe. The website is freedomabovefortune.com. We're going to be back after this, taking your calls. We're also going to go to this Max Kaiser clip where he tells it like it is about the economy. This is the Info Warrior. I've got a little blog. It's called theinfowarrior.com, and you can see me live right now at Infowars and prisonplanet.tv.
Home game. And that's spelled HOMEGAIN.com. HOMEGAIN.com. You can go there for free, find out how much your house is worth, how much it's listed for. They've been around for 10 years. I'd used this service before I even got them as a sponsor when we were moving a few years ago. And they have a home sale maximizer that tells you the least expensive repairs to do to your home or upgrades that'll give you the best resale value. Just an amazing site, HOMEGAIN.com, homegain.com. That's HOMEGAIN.com. Or click on the Infowars.com banner. It's Max Little Orange Gorilla.